Alright, hope you guys are doing fine. We're getting started on the video already. This one will be about combat tactics and pretty much advanced combat that I was supposed to do a long time ago, right? Let's get started. No bullshit, no intro. Let's get into it. We're starting with spears, but keep in mind that the concept is pretty much standing for every weapon in this game. So, here we are. With the spear, what I'm usually doing, it's pretty much relying on transitioning between attacks properly while looking at the right direction to break the animation, pretty much. So what I'm usually doing is like overhead looking down. This is working for every weapon. Overhead looking down, stab looking up. And you will see the transition. Well, actually you need to rotate 80 degrees on the right to do this, to actually hide your arms at the same time. So you will do this and this. You can see how the spear pretty much stays at the same location, right? The entire key of this game is to make your weapon look like it stayed at the same direction by either looking up, looking down and all that stuff, pretty much. So this one is pretty deadly and you release in the air, and when you release on the air you start aiming for your target. This is also working for right swing. It is also, well, you can do the opposite, like right swing to stab, obviously. And all kind of fancy stuff like this, and it starts pretty much always the same on my feinting. But the attack that I'm landing is pretty much never the same. Even left swing and all that stuff, it is all working this way. This is how you will practice it and all that stuff, but those ones are pretty deadly and not too hard to do on the battlefield, so you can actually make it fit into a group fight. Because, you know, the triple feinting, jump, spin, spin is not working too much in group fighting. So let's get started with the swords now. This one is pretty much relying on the same concept. You will always stab in the air. I don't even know why it's a katana, but whatever. You get the concept, right? You always stab in the air as well. But this one will rely more on other rotation and all that stuff. This one is more like 90 degree on the right if you want to overhead. And I will always recommend to, well, turn on your right and not your left for overheads, because the animation is, how to say that, your dominant arm is the right arm, right? So you are showing your right arm here, but you're hiding it here. So I would always recommend to turn on your right if you overhead, and always look down as well, because between this and this, as usual, we try to keep the weapon staying at the same location pretty much. So those ones are actually already deadly. If you start overhead and... Sorry, I missed. If you start overhead into... if you start stabbing into overhead and then you do the rotation like this, 90 degree, and you come back on your target. So let's say the target is here, right? I look at him, I give him... Sorry, I missed. I look at him, I give him overhead, I mean stab, into the air. And then I turn into overhead and I come back onto him. And this is all the rotation and the movement of the camera that will break the animations. And as usual, you look as much as possible up and as much as possible down, with the rotation of 90 degree on your right. And you may want to be careful because your legs are rotating with it, and that's gonna break your aiming direction. You see, my character is moving left and right when I'm stabbing. So make sure you actually turn enough to rotate your legs back, so you don't miss your hits too much because of that. So that's one of the basic tricks that I'm doing with swords, and there's some other ones that are pretty good, and as you see, they are actually usable in group fights. Like this one is highly doable in group fight. And then there's some others that I'm doing with the swings. So overhead into swings, right? Overhead into... Sorry, it's a stab looking in the air. And what I will actually do is, if I right swing, I will right swing while turning left. To, you know, keep the principle of rotating at the opposite of your swing direction. Or pretty much turn left if you want to right swing, and turn right if you want to left swing. But I will always start with an overhead looking, with a stab looking in the air, sorry. Those ones are pretty fancy. And they are highly doable, like you get the parry, you just do this, and you will land most of your hits in the battlefield. They are pretty simple to do and all that stuff. You can make it triple feint and stuff when you are actually dueling and stuff, making it pretty fancy. But I don't recommend doing this on group fights, and I'm pretty much a group fight content player, because I think that duel doesn't really matter in most occasions. I guess that's pretty much it, to be honest. Like, those are just basic stuff and things, but there's also some other transitioning on swords, like when you're looking down. For example, you look down into right swing overhead or some stuff like that. Right swing overhead. Right swing overhead when you're looking down, or like looking down and swapping between left to right. And for now I came back on, how to say that, movement keys to actually select my swings and all that stuff, because I'm still playing on spear lately. But I found out that my feinting was actually more accurate when I'm doing it with sword. Also, swings are pretty deadly when they are looking up. I would say, like, if you want to transition between right swing to left swing, you would look all the way down. But if you want to swap from stab to swing, you will look up, as much up as possible, and turn to the opposite direction like this. I don't know why sometimes my E button, I think I'm pressing my buttons too fast and it's screwing up my my swapping animation, you know. But anyway, that's pretty much the entire principle that I'm applying lately, like trying to keep the weapon at the same direction by like rotating my camera and all that stuff. Keep trying to rotate at the same direction, so if I right swing I turn right to land my hit, if I left swing I turn left to land my hits. But I'm making it more complicated with a stab into overhead. Like, those are pretty deadly on the battlefield, and like I said, this one is pretty destructive as well and pretty easy to do. And you can mix it up with all the swings that you want and all that stuff. And then you got the fancy moves that you can stab into. I'm not really great with swords, but there's some fancy move where you can like stab in the air, into overhead, look down, and then you will do another 360 pretty much. I'm not great with sword really. I won't show you, but you got the principle. Like, there's a lot of mix and all that stuff, but keep in mind the main principle of stabbing into looking in the sky, overhead looking all the way down, and then swings depends on where you came from. So if you swap swing to swing, I will recommend look down. But if you swap stab to swing, I would recommend look all the way up as well and turn at the same direction than your swing. So right swing, turn at the same direction, right? Hope you guys will enjoy that video. Hope you guys will make progress with that one. I will see you boys in the next video. See you guys later.